The majority and the minority leaders in Parliament are mouths for hire. So these MPs stand in Parliament and say that CS Muturi, for coming forward and talking about his son's abduction, he is now inciting people. He's inciting communities against communities. Does that even make sense?
And it is sad, Honorable Speaker, that today we even have cabinet secretaries who get tempted to playing to the public gallery, excite emotions on the basis of ethnicity and regions they come from, inciting communities against communities.
The same Ichung'wah who stood and said he will step on people's necks. Listen.
Hawa watu wa kelele niachiwe mimi. Nipelekane na wao, nikanyange shingo, akipumua na kanyanga tena. Niendelee nisiendelee? Wale wa kuchochea, si mnawajua? Si hata kuna wengine walikuwa na vyeo kubwa, si leo wako nyumbani? Si iko wengine tu gavana hapa tunasikia wanapiga kelele? Tuwatembeze tusiwatembeze? Watembee wasitembee?
Compare what Ichung'wah has just said and what Muturi was saying. Muturi was talking on behalf of his family. His son was abducted. He came very clear and told us that my son was abducted.
I have personally served as my son was abducted and disappeared, and I was not sure whether he was alive or dead, making us anxious and leaving me and my wife and the rest of the family in turmoil.
This guy sat in the Security Council across the same person who was commanding these abductions. Across, on the other side, the same person who was holding his son. And you want to tell me that this guy should not come forward and talk about these abductions? So if he talks about abductions, you tell him that we will impeach you.
So if you behave in a very tribalistic manner, you behave in an awkward manner, then nothing stops us from filing an impeachment motion and removing you from office, Mr. Speaker. If you no longer believe in what the government is doing and you're a cabinet secretary, just resign.
If you feel the ministry you are serving in is too small for you and you are too big for that ministry, simply resign.
What kind of government is this? Does it mean if you are cabinet secretary, you don't have a right to talk for your own son, your own blood was abducted? But if you come forward and talk about it, now you are being put on the cross. Because you talked, now it means you are less of a person. If you are a cabinet secretary in the Republic of Kenya, that means that you abide, whether it is your wife being taken away, whether it is your son being taken away, you should keep quiet because it is now, you are now one family. You are one family with this government. Whether, are you, guys, if it were me, I would do the same thing. Only that I would do it earlier. Most likely Muturi went to the president, tried to talk to the DPP, tried to talk to NIS, tried to talk to all these directors, including Cabinet Secretary Interior, and he was not getting answers for the last 6 months. He tried everything, and he even said it in his statement that nothing has been done to arrest the perpetrators who abducted his son.
More than 6 months later, after that ordeal and the release of my son by unknown forces, he has not been charged with any offense, and the government at all levels has not been able to give me any explanation or reasons as to his abduction by hooded armed gangsters.
He is in the same government with the same people who are abducting his own family. And then when he comes out, you hear the minority leader saying things like this.
I can't just say my son was arrested by so and so. Give the reasons why he was arrested. And then why do you wait for 7 months so that you tell Kenyans why your son was arrested? Why don't you tell them the day he was released?
You'll realize that Justin Muturi was sitting in the Security Council. And if he was seeking answers, because he was rubbing shoulders with the president, rubbing shoulders with the NIS director, rubbing shoulders with the DPP, with the Cabinet Secretary Interior, and if he couldn't get these answers, and he was seeing the president going around saying, we will release them.
Ya abduction tutakomesha, ndio vijana wa Kenya waweze kuishi kwa amani.
Seeing leaders out there saying abductions are fake, that all these people are pretending, they're just sitting in their girlfriends' houses.
Mtu hata anaenda anajifungia kwa Airbnb na mrembo yake.
Tiajifiche siku 3 waseme wameabductiwa.
If he was seeing other leaders saying there's nothing like abduction.
All the stories about abductions, most of them are not genuine. They are aimed at tarnishing the name of the government.
How was he supposed to be quiet? And yet he knew when he took the oath of office, he was supposed to protect and defend the people of Kenya. He's serving the people of Kenya. At the same time, the people you are serving with, they abduct your own son. That is an insult and an injury to an already broken person. He decided to come forward just like any other father, just like any other parent, because all the parents have been coming to our TV screens and explaining this to us and crying before our own eyes. All these parents who have been crying, is he less of a parent not to complain about his son's abduction? And then when he's saying that, you guys are saying he was a thief. Can you believe it?
If you think, Honorable Speaker, that you are reassigned to a ministry where you are not able to extort money from people as you used to extort in any other, Honorable Speaker.
How is he a thief because of talking about his son? How is he stirring animosity in the whole population? How is he making communities fight against communities? Yet, he's talking about his own son.
We even have cabinet secretaries who get tempted to playing to the public gallery, excite emotions on the basis of ethnicity and regions they come from, inciting communities against communities.
How is he making communities fight against communities? Yet, he's talking about his own son who was abducted. Something that actually happened. It was captured on TV and we even saw it. It was on CCTV. We could see it. How come? Now, we even thought it wasn't the government now. That was the confusing ball. But for him to come and say that the president actually called NIS director and his son was released, this is him coming forward as a true patriot of Kenya and telling all Kenyans that even my son was abducted and I have the evidence. I'm going to help all of you parents who are waiting for your sons and daughters who are still captured and you don't know where they are. I'm going to tell you who has your daughters and sons. And that's exactly what he did. He did what a true statesman does. And now he wants to be impeached by the parliamentarians, the same parliamentarians who have been bought off by this government. And if this motion sees the light of day, and if he is impeached, which I think he will be, I am really waiting for that day because it will begin a new chapter for everyone who is defending our nation. And yes, most people will start resigning because you can't stand for a government and with a government that is abducting your own kin. That is not even possible. Even if it's betrayal, this is the biggest betrayal Kenya has ever seen. Someone who sits in the same Security Council, his son is abducted, and now he wants to be impeached for speaking for his own family. You tell me how low we have gotten to a point where you can't defend your own family, and you're in the same cabinet, and your cabinet people are lying to you in your face. You tell me, your cabinet people are lying in front of your face. How can this be? This is one Kenya. How can this be? Honestly, I feel CS Muturi is a hero because he has done something that many cabinet secretaries will not do. If there's anyone who will decide to stand for a people, for a government who is abducting their own families and leave their family alone, then you don't deserve to be called a father. So I stand with CS Muturi, and if there was anything that he did, if he misappropriated anything, if he stole anywhere in his previous ministry, let them bring those files forward, let them bring the evidence forward, and let us also judge him based on what the evidence that they bring forward. So please, let them not just say things without evidence. So with that, I hope your eyes are open.